The research vessel Constellation moved through the dark space like a ghost. Its hull was long and curved, made from metal that looked like silver mixed with blue. Strange lights blinked along its sides in patterns that no human eye had ever seen. Inside the ship, beings that were not human worked at control panels that glowed with soft colors. Captain Zareth stood on the bridge, her tall form covered in what looked like scales that changed color with her mood. Right now they were deep purple, which meant she was focused on work. Her large eyes, black as space itself, watched the screens that showed the area around their ship. She was from a race called the Vulcans, and they had been exploring space for thousands of years. "Captain, we are picking up something strange," said Dr. Vexel from his station. The Chithari scientist looked like a giant insect, with 4 arms that moved quickly over his controls. His voice came through a translator box, turning his clicking sounds into words the other crew members could understand. "There is a dead ship floating about 2 kilometers from our position." Zaret H turned to look at the main screen. There, spinning slowly in the empty space, was a ship unlike any in their databases. It was much smaller than the Constellation, and it looked old. Very old. The metal hull was dark and covered with small holes from space rocks. No light showed anywhere on its surface. "Can you tell what kind of ship it is?" Zareth asked Himdak. The ship's engineer spoke up from his crystal body. The Resonari looked like living glass, and his voice sounded like music. "The design is not in our records, Captain, but the energy readings are very weak. The ship has been dead for a long time." Zareth made a decision. "Prepare a boarding team. We will go and look at this ship. Maybe we can learn something new." An hour later, Zareth floated through the airlock of the dead ship. Her suit's lights cut through the darkness inside. Behind her came Dr. Vexil and 2 security officers. Their feet made no sound in the empty halls. "The air is gone," Vexil reported, checking his instruments. "But the ship is still in one piece. Look at these walls, Captain. The metal is strange. I have never seen anything like it." They moved deeper into the ship, following the main corridor. The walls were covered with symbols that none of them could read. Pictures showed creatures that walked on 2 legs, had 2 arms, and faces that looked almost like some of the races they knew, but different. "These beings look primitive," one of the security officers said. "Look how simple their tools are." But Dr. Vexil was not so sure. He ran his scanner over the walls and controls. "Actually, their technology is quite clever. They built this ship to last a very long time. And look here." He pointed to a section of wall that had been damaged and then fixed. "They repaired this while they were traveling. That shows they were smart enough to solve problems." They reached a large room filled with white metal boxes. Each box was about the size of a person, and they were arranged in neat rows. Most of the boxes were dark, but strange liquid had leaked from some of them onto the floor. "What are these?" Zareth asked. Vexil moved to the nearest box and used his scanner. "They are sleeping chambers. The beings inside were supposed to stay alive while they slept, but most of them are dead now." He moved from box to box, checking each one. "Wait, this one is still working." The team gathered around a box that still had lights blinking on its surface. Through a small window, they could see a creature inside. It looked like the pictures on the walls, but real. The being was tall and had pale skin. Hair covered the top of its head, and its face looked peaceful in sleep. "Should we wake it up?" asked one of the security officers. Zareth thought about this. Her people had rules about finding new life forms. They were supposed to report everything to the Galactic Council first, but this was different. These beings were clearly not from any world the Council knew about. "Dr. Vexil, what do you think? Is it safe to wake this creature?" The scientist studied his readings. "The life form seems healthy. Its body has been kept alive by the machine for a very long time. But Captain, I must tell you something." I have been comparing these beings to the old records. I think I know what they are. Zareth's scales turned yellow with surprise. What do you mean? These are humans, Captain. The species that used to live on a world called Earth, but they have been gone for hundreds of years. The council said they all died out. The name human made everyone step back. Even the security officers, who were trained to be brave, looked worried. Humans were legendary in the galaxy, but not in a good way. The old stories said they were dangerous, that they never gave up fighting, and that they could learn to use any weapon or tool they found. The council said they were too dangerous to let live, Zareth whispered. That is why no one helped when their world was dying. Vexel nodded. Yes, but look at this one, Captain. It is just sleeping. It looks peaceful. Maybe the stories were wrong. Zareth stared at the sleeping human. Her scales changed from yellow to red as she thought about what to do. If she woke up this creature, she might be putting her whole crew in danger. But if she left it here, it would die when the machine finally stopped working. The machine keeping it alive is failing, Vexel reported. It has maybe a few more days of power. After that, this human will die like all the others. Zareth made her choice. We will take the sleeping chamber back to our ship. If we are going to wake it up, we should do it where we can control what happens. 2 hours later, the human sleeping chamber was in the medical bay of the constellation. The whole crew had gathered to watch. Everyone was nervous but also curious. None of them had ever seen a real human before. Begin the awakening process. Zareth ordered. Dr. Vexil worked at the controls of the sleeping chamber. Slowly, the machine began to warm up the human inside. The creature's body started to move as it came back to life. Its eyes opened, and it looked around with confusion. Human sat up slowly, and everyone stepped back. It was bigger than they had expected, with strong muscles and quick movements. Its eyes were blue like deep water, and they moved from one alien face to another. Where am I? The human asked, and the translator turned its words into sounds the aliens could understand. You are safe, Zareth said, trying to keep her voice calm. We found you sleeping in your ship. You have been asleep for a very long time. The human looked at her, then at the others. You're not human. What happened to my crew? Where is Earth? Dr. Vexil stepped forward. I am sorry, but we have bad news. Your people have been gone for hundreds of years. Earth is dead. You are the last human we know about. The human's face changed as he understood what this meant. But instead of crying or getting angry like many beings would, he just nodded slowly. I see. My name is Jake Morrison. I was the ship's engineer. Can you tell me what year it is? When they told him, Jake was quiet for a long time. Then he looked at each of them again. Thank you for saving me. I know humans have a bad reputation in the galaxy. You could have left me to die. Zareth H. was surprised by how calm the human was. You are not angry? You do not want to fight us? Jake smiled, and it was not the scary expression they had expected. Why would I fight you? You saved my life. Besides, if I really am the last human, then fighting would be pretty stupid. I need to learn about this new galaxy if I want to survive. The crew looked at each other with surprise. Maybe the stories about humans were wrong. This one seemed reasonable and smart. But they did not know yet that Jake Morrison was about to change everything in the galaxy, and that his awakening would bring chaos to the careful order the council had built. Jake Morrison sat in the medical bay for 3 days, learning about the new world he had woken up in. Dr. Vexil brought him food that his body could eat, though it tasted strange. The Chithari scientist was amazed at how quickly Jake learned to use the universal translator and understand their basic technology. Most beings take weeks to learn our language system, Vexil told Captain Zareth privately. But this human figured it out in hours. He asks questions I never thought of, and he sees patterns in our equipment that took me years to understand. Jake spent his time walking around the ship, always asking if it was okay first. The crew watched him carefully, but he never did anything. That seemed dangerous. Instead, he helped fix small problems without being asked. When the food dispenser in the crew quarters stopped working, Jake looked at it for 10 minutes and then had it running again. "How did you do that?" asked Himdoc, the crystal engineer. "That machine has been broken for months." Jake smiled and pointed to a small part inside the dispenser. "This piece was loose, so the energy could not flow right. I just tightened it up. Back on Earth, I fix machines like this all the time." Himdoc was confused. "But you did not scan it with instruments. You did not run tests. How did you know what was wrong?" "I listened to the sounds it made and felt how it moved when I touched it," Jake explained. "Machines talk to you if you know how to listen." This was something none of the aliens understood. They always used computers and scanners to fix things. The idea that someone could just look and listen and touch seemed impossible to them. Dr. Vexel became very interested in studying Jake. Every day, he ran tests to learn about human biology and psychology. Jake was happy to help because he was curious about the alien species too. "Your brain works differently than ours," Vexel explained. After a week of tests, most species are good at one type of thinking. My people, the Shithari, are good at analyzing data. Captain Zarath's people, the Vulcans, are good at making quick decisions. Himdoc's people, the Resonari, are good at understanding energy and patterns. "What about humans?" Jake asked. "Humans seem to be good at everything, but not perfect. At any one thing. You can analyze like a Chithari, decide like a Vulcan, and understand patterns like a Resonari. But the strangest thing is how you connect ideas that seem to have nothing to do with each other." Jake thought about this. "We call that creativity. We look at different things and imagine how they might work together in new ways." This was hard for the aliens to understand. Their species had developed in very organized ways. They learned one thing at a time and followed rules that had worked for thousands of years. But humans seemed to break rules and make new ones whenever they needed to. During the second week, Jake started telling stories about Earth and human history. The crew would gather in the common room after their work shifts to listen. Jake told them about human wars, but also about human art, music, and science. He explained how humans had learned to fly, build cities, and travel to other planets. "Your people fought each other a lot," Captain Zarath observed. Her scales turned orange, which meant she was thinking hard. "Yes, we did," Jake admitted. "But we also helped each other. When big disasters happened, humans from all over the world would work together to fix the problems. We fought, but we also loved and created beautiful things." Himdoc was interested in human technology. "Your machines were much simpler than ours, but they seemed to work in places where our technology would fail. We built things to be tough," Jake said. "A human machine might not be as fancy as yours, but it could keep working even when it was damaged or old. We always expected things to break, so we made them easy to fix." This made the aliens think. Their technology was very advanced, but it was also fragile. When something broke, they had to replace the whole system. Jake's people had learned to fix and rebuild things over and over again. The biggest shock for Jake came when he learned about the Galactic Council. Dr. Vexel showed him the official records about Earth's final years. "Your planet was dying because of pollution and climate change," Vexel explained. The council knew about this, but they decided not to help. Jake's face became very serious. "Why not?" "They were afraid of humans. The council had studied your species for many years. They decided that humans were too dangerous to let spread to other worlds." Jake was quiet for a long time after hearing this. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm but sad. "So they just watched while my whole species died out?" "Yes," Zarath said. The Council believed it was better for the galaxy if humans stayed on Earth until the planet could no longer support life. Jake learned that the galaxy was very peaceful under the Council's rule. There had been no major wars for centuries. Different species stayed in their own areas of space and followed strict rules about contact with each other. Everything was organized and controlled. "It sounds boring," Jake said, which surprised the crew. "Boring is good," Vexel replied. "Boring means no one is dying in wars. Boring means everyone knows what to expect. But boring also means no one is learning new things or growing," Jake said. "On Earth, our best discoveries came when people from different places shared their ideas. When everyone stays separate, no one gets better." This was a new way of thinking for the aliens. They had been taught that mixing different species and cultures was dangerous. But Jake made it sound like something good. As the days passed, Jake began working with the crew on their daily tasks. He helped Himdoc fix the ship's engines, and he gave Dr. Vexel new ideas for his research. Most surprising, he helped Captain Zarath solve problems with crew management. "On human ships we had a saying," Jake told her. "Take care of your people, and they will take care of the mission." Zarath had always followed the military rules she learned in the Vulcan fleet. Officers gave orders, and crew members followed them. But Jake showed her that sometimes it was better to ask crew members what they thought before making decisions. "Why do you trust them so much?" Zarath asked. "Because they know their jobs better than I do," Jake replied. "I might be the leader, but they are the experts. Smart leaders listen to experts." The crew began to change as they worked with Jake. They started sharing ideas with each other instead of just doing their assigned tasks. Vexel began helping Himdoc with engineering problems. Himdoc started giving Vexel ideas for new experiments. Even the security officers began suggesting better ways to organize their patrols, but the biggest change was in how they saw humans. The stories they had been told painted humans as violent and unpredictable. Jake was certainly unpredictable, but not in a dangerous way. He was unpredictable because he thought of solutions that no one else would consider. One day, Captain Zarath made a decision that would change everything. She sent a report to the Vulcan Fleet Command, telling them about finding Jake. In the report, she wrote that humans might not be as dangerous as the old records claimed. She suggested that maybe it was time to study them again instead of just leaving them in the history books. She did not know that this report would reach the Galactic Council within days. She did not know that the Council would see Jake as a threat that needed to be dealt with immediately. And she did not know that her decision to trust and protect the last human would soon put all of them in terrible danger. Jake continued to work and learn with the crew, not knowing that forces across the galaxy were already moving to stop him. The peaceful life he had found on the constellation was about to end, and he would face a test that would prove whether humans really were too dangerous for the galaxy to allow them to live. The call came 3 weeks after Captain Zarath sent her report. She was on the bridge when the communication screen lit up with the symbol of the Galactic Council. Her scales turned pale blue with worry as she saw who was calling. Fleet Admiral Korentai appeared on the screen. He was a hegemony, a species that looked like tall, thin reptiles with silver skin and cold yellow eyes. The hegemony had been the leaders of the Galactic Council for over 1,000 years, and they did not like surprises. "Captain Zarath," the Admiral said in a voice that sounded like ice cracking, "you have reported finding a living human. This is very concerning news." "Yes, Admiral," Zarath replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "The human seems peaceful. He has been helping my crew with various tasks. I believe the old reports about humans may have been wrong." Admiral Korentai's eyes became even colder. "Captain, you do not understand the danger you have brought into this galaxy. Humans are not just violent. They are infectious. They spread ideas that destroy the order we have spent centuries building." "With respect, Admiral," This human has only helped us. He fixed our equipment and taught us new ways to solve problems. Exactly, the Admiral said. Do you not see? He is already changing your crew. This is how it starts. One human changes a few aliens. Those aliens change others. Soon, the entire galaxy is infected with human ideas about chaos and change. Zareth felt confused. But change can be good, Admiral. My crew is working better than ever before. Your crew is working differently than before, the Admiral corrected. Different is dangerous. Order and predictability keep the peace. Chaos and change bring war. The Admiral's image leaned forward on the screen. You will deliver the human to us immediately. A Council battleship, the Dominion, is already on its way to your position. When it arrives, you will transfer the human to their custody. What will happen to him? Zareth asked. That is not your concern. Your only job is to follow orders. The screen went dark, leaving Zareth alone on the bridge. Her scales turned deep red with anger and fear. She had grown to like Jake, and she did not want to just hand him over to the Council like a piece of cargo. She called a meeting with her. Senior officers, Dr. Vexel, Himdok, and her security chief, Commander Thale, gathered in the conference room. Jake was not invited, but somehow he knew something was wrong. He had learned to read the crew's moods over the past weeks. The Council wants Jake, Zareth told her officers. A battleship is coming to take him away. What will they do with him? Dr. Vexel asked. I do not think they plan to let him live, Zareth said quietly. The room was silent for a moment. Then Commander Thale spoke up. Captain, we have orders. We must follow them. Must we? Himdok asked. His crystal body flashed with different colors as he thought. Jake has done nothing wrong. He has only helped us. The Council believes he is dangerous just by existing, Vexel said. They are afraid of what he represents. What does he represent? Thale asked. Change, Zareth said. The possibility that things could be different than they are now. Before anyone could answer, the conference room door opened. Jake walked in, and everyone turned to look at him. He had been listening outside the door. I heard my name, Jake said calmly. And I can see on your faces that something bad is coming. What did the Council say? Zareth looked at her officers, then back at Jake. They are sending a battleship to take you away. They believe you are too dangerous to let live. Jake nodded slowly. I figured something like this would happen. The question is, what are you going to do about it? We have to follow orders, Commander Thale said, but he did not sound sure. Do you? Jake asked. Or do you choose to follow? Orders? What is the difference? Thale asked. Having to do something means you have no choice. Choosing to do something means you looked at your options and decided what was right. Dr. Vexil clicked his mandibles nervously. Jake, if we do not give you to the Council, they will punish all of us. They might destroy this ship. I know, Jake said. That is why I am not going to ask you to protect me. Instead, I have a different idea. Everyone leaned forward to hear what Jake was thinking. The Council is afraid of me because they think I will cause chaos in their ordered galaxy. They believe humans are too dangerous because we change things. But they have never actually tested this theory, have they? What do you mean? Zareth asked. I mean, let them test me. Let me prove that humans can exist in this galaxy without destroying everything. Himdok's crystal body pulsed with confusion. How would you do that? Jake smiled. By surviving something that should be impossible to survive. By showing them that humans can adapt and overcome without hurting others. When the battleship Dominion arrived 2 days later, Jake was ready. He had spent the time learning everything he could about the galaxy's history and the various alien species. Dr. Vexil had given him access to the ship's database, and Jake had absorbed information faster than anyone thought possible. Admiral, Korentai came aboard the Constellation with a full squad of armed soldiers. They were prepared for Jake to fight or try to escape. Instead, they found him waiting calmly in the docking bay. "You are the human," the Admiral said, looking Jake up and down like he was examining a dangerous animal. "I am Jake Morrison," Jake replied. "And I have a proposal for you." The Admiral's yellow eyes narrowed. "Humans do not make proposals to the Galactic Council. They follow orders or they die." "Then you are making a mistake," Jake said calmly. "You are afraid of something you do not understand. You think humans are dangerous because we bring chaos. But you have never tested whether we can bring good chaos or only bad chaos. There is no such thing as good chaos," the Admiral said. "Prove it," Jake challenged. "Give me a test. Put me in a situation where only chaos and change can help, and see what happens. If I cause destruction and death, then you were right to fear humans. But if I bring cooperation and life, then maybe you should reconsider your position." Admiral Korentai thought about this. The Council had been curious about human capabilities for centuries, but they had never had a chance to study a living human safely. This could be an opportunity to prove once and for all that humans were as dangerous as the old records claimed. "Very well," the Admiral said. "There's a place called Tartarus. It is a prison planet where we send the worst criminals in the galaxy. The environment is so hostile that no one has ever survived there for more than a few months. The criminals fight each other and die from the planet's dangers." "What kind of dangers?" Jake asked. "Acid storms, toxic air, poisonous plants, and wild animals that can kill with a touch. The planet is completely hostile to life. We drop criminals there and leave them to die because it is more merciful than execution." Jake nodded. "And you want to put me there?" "Yes, if you can survive on Tartarus for 1 year without causing more violence and death. The Council will consider that humans might not be as dangerous as we believed. But if you die quickly, or if you make the violence worse, then we will know we were right to let your species become extinct." "What if I do more than survive?" Jake asked. "What if I actually make things better on Tartarus?" The Admiral laughed, a sound like metal scraping against stone. "Impossible. Tartarus has been a place of death and chaos for over 200 years. No one could make it better." "Then you will not mind if I try," Jake said. Admiral Korentai agreed to the test, thinking it was a perfect solution. The human would die on Tartarus, probably within days, and the Council could say they had given him a fair chance. The planet would dispose of their problem without them having to take direct action. As Jake was prepared for transport to Tartarus, Captain Zareth came to see him one last time. "Jake, this is suicide," she said. "Tartarus kills everyone who goes there." "Maybe," Jake said. "But maybe it kills them because they are trying to survive alone. What if someone tried to help them all survive together? The criminals there are the worst beings in the galaxy. They are murderers and pirates and monsters. They will kill you the moment you arrive." Jake smiled. "Or maybe they are just people who made bad choices because they saw no good options. Maybe they need someone to show them that there is another way. You cannot save everyone, Jake." "I do not need to save everyone," Jake replied. "I just need to save enough of them to prove that humans can make things better instead of worse." As the transport ship carried Jake toward Tartarus, he thought about what he was about to face. The Admiral was right that it seemed impossible. But Jake had learned something important during his time with the crew of the Constellation. Impossible. Things became possible when different people worked together and shared their strengths. He was about to find out if that lesson would work on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. The transport ship dropped Jake on Tartarus just as the morning sun was rising. The planet looked like hell itself. The sky was yellow with poison clouds, and the ground was covered with black rocks that looked sharp enough to cut skin. In the distance, Jake could see mountains that spit fire and smoke into the air. The air burned his lungs when he breathed, even through the basic breathing mask they had given him. The council had dropped him with only simple clothes, a water container, and a small knife. They expected him to die within days. Jake looked around and saw movement in the rocks nearby. Eyes were watching him from hidden places. The other prisoners on Tartarus had seen the transport ship land, and they were curious about the new arrival. A group of 6 creatures came out from behind the rocks. Jake recognized some of their species from the database he had studied. There were 2 Graxians who looked like bears with 4 arms and gray fur. One was a ethereal, a thin being with blue skin and large black eyes. The others were species Jake had never seen before. "Look what we have here," said the largest Graxian, in broken galactic common language. "Fresh meat for the grinder." Jake raised his hands to show he was not holding any weapons. "My name is Jake Morrison. I am new here, and I could use some advice about how to survive on this planet." The Graxian laughed, showing teeth like knives. "Advice? Here is advice. Soft one, give us your water and food, and maybe we kill you quick instead of slow." "I do not have any food," Jake said calmly, "and we both need water to live. Why do we not work together to find more water instead of fighting over what little I have?" This confused the prisoners. They were used to new arrivals either fighting or begging. Jake was doing neither. "You are weak," said one of the other aliens. "Weak things die fast here, maybe," Jake said. "But stupid things die even faster. And it would be stupid for all of us to waste energy fighting when we could use that energy to solve our real problems." "What problems?" the ethereal asked. Her voice was soft and musical, very different from the harsh sounds the others made. Jake pointed to the yellow sky. "That poison air, the lack of clean water, the acid storms that I heard about, the fact that none of you seem to be working together to build shelter or find food. Those are the real enemies here, not each other." The Graxian leader stepped closer to Jake. "You talk too much, human. Time to die." But before he could attack, the ground started shaking. In the distance, one of the fire mountains was getting ready to explode. Hot rocks began falling from the sky like deadly rain. "Eruption coming," the ethereal said with fear in her voice. "We must find shelter." The group scattered, each prisoner running to their own hiding place. But Jake noticed that the ethereal was limping. She had been hurt and could not run fast enough to reach safety before the hot rocks started falling heavily. Jake made a quick decision. Instead of running to save himself, he ran to the ethereal and helped her move to a crack between 2 large rocks. They squeezed inside just as the sky filled with burning stones. "Why did you help me?" the ethereal asked as they waited for the eruption to end. "Because you needed help," Jake said simply. "Where I come from, we believe that people should help each other when they can, even people you do not know, especially people I do not know. How else can strangers become friends?" The ethereal looked at Jake with her large black eyes. "I am called Senna. I have been on this planet for 3 years. No one has ever helped me before." "Well, now someone has," Jake said. "Maybe that can be the start of things being different." After the eruption ended, Jake and Senna came out of their hiding place. The other prisoners were also coming out from where they had hidden. The Graxian leader looked surprised to see that Jake was still alive. "You helped the blue one," he said, sounding confused. "Her name is Senna," Jake corrected. "And yes, I helped her. Just like I would help any of you if you needed it." Over the next few days, Jake began to understand the real problems on Tartarus. The planet was dangerous, but the biggest danger was not the environment. It was the fact that all the prisoners lived in fear of each other. They spent more energy fighting and stealing than they did trying to survive. Jake started by solving small problems. He found a place where clean water came up from underground, but it was in an area claimed by a group of spider-like arachnids. Instead of fighting them for the water, Jake offered to trade work for access. "I can build you better shelters," he told their leader, a creature called Vorthek. "Your current shelters fall down every time there is an acid storm. I can show you how to build ones that will last." Vorthek was suspicious. "What do you want in return?" "Just enough water for me and my friend Senna, and maybe you could let other prisoners come here for water too, if they help with building." "Why would I want to help other prisoners? They are my enemies." Jake sat down next to Vorthek and spoke quietly. "Are they really your enemies? Or are they just other people who are scared and trying to survive, just like you?" This made Vorthek think. The arachnid had been fighting other prisoners for so long that he had forgotten they were all in the same terrible situation. Jake spent the next week building better shelters for Vorthek's group. He used his engineering knowledge to create structures that could survive the acid storms and volcanic eruptions. Other prisoners watched from a distance, amazed that anyone could build things that actually worked on Tartarus. Word spread quickly about the human, who helped instead of hurt. More prisoners began coming to see what Jake was doing. Some came to steal, but Jake always offered to trade work for help instead of fighting. A group of Chithari criminals controlled the area where the best food plants grew. They were led by a female called Zixara, who was much meaner than Dr. Vexel had been. She had been sent to Tartarus for poisoning an entire colony of peaceful aliens. "Human," she said when Jake came to talk to her, "I have heard about you. You think you can change this place. But I know what you really are. Humans destroy everything they touch." "Some humans do," Jake admitted. "But some humans build things. I want to be the kind that builds." "Prove it," Zixara challenged. "These food plants are poisonous to most species. Only my people can eat them safely. What will you build that can change that?" Jake studied the plants for 2 days. Then he had an idea. Using knowledge from his old life on Earth, he built a simple system to process the plants and remove the poison. It was not perfect, but it made the plants safe for other species to eat. "Now everyone can eat," Jake told Zixara. "Your people can still control this area, but you can also trade food with other groups for things you need." Zixara was amazed. "You could have just taken the plants by force. Many prisoners would have helped you fight us for food." "Fighting uses energy," Jake said. "And fighting makes enemies. Trading makes friends. Friends last longer than enemies." Slowly, Jake began connecting the different groups on Tartarus. The arachnids had the best water, but they needed better tools. The Chithari had food, but they needed protection from the acid storms. The Graxians were strong fighters, but they needed medicine for their sick members. Jake showed them how they could all help each other instead of fighting each other. It was not easy. Many prisoners had been angry and afraid for so long that they did not trust anyone. But Jake was patient. He kept helping people, even when they were mean to him. The ethereal named Senna became his first real ally. She was smart and had been watching the other prisoners for years. She knew which ones might be willing to change and which ones would always choose violence. "There is a group of Velkan soldiers in the eastern caves," she told Jake one day. "They were sent here for refusing to follow orders that would have killed innocent people. They might listen to you." Jake and Senna traveled to the eastern caves, dodging acid pools and dangerous animals. They found 12 Velkan soldiers who had built a small, organized camp. Their leader was a female named Kiran, and Jake could see that she was a natural leader like Captain Zareth. "You are the human everyone is talking about," Kiran said when Jake introduced himself. "They say you are trying to bring order to chaos." "Not order," Jake corrected. "Cooperation. Order means one person tells everyone else what to do. Cooperation means everyone works together to solve problems." Kiran thought about this. "My soldiers and I have been surviving well, but we have not been able to help others. The planet is too dangerous, and most prisoners cannot be trusted. What if you did not have to trust them? Jake asked. What if you could just trade with them? Give them something they need in exchange for something you need. Over the next month, Jake helped Kiran's soldiers establish trade relationships with other groups. The soldiers were good at hunting the dangerous animals on Tartarus, and they could trade meat for water, tools, and medicine. As the trade network grew, something amazing began to happen. Groups that had been fighting each other for years began to see each other as partners instead of enemies. The constant violence on Tartarus began to decrease. Jake established meeting places where representatives from different groups could come together safely to discuss problems and make trades. He taught them basic rules for negotiation and conflict resolution. The first rule, he told a gathering of prisoners from 6 different species, is that everyone gets to speak without being interrupted. Admiral Korintai stood in the command center of the Council's main station, watching the reports from Tartarus with growing anger. The screens showed images that should have been impossible. Where there had once been chaos and death, there was now a thriving community with farms, workshops, and schools. How many prisoners are now part of the Humans Alliance? He asked his intelligence officer. Over 3,000, Admiral. That is nearly 80% of everyone on the planet. Violence has decreased by 95%, and they have built the first sustainable civilization in Tartarus's history. The Admiral's silver skin turned darker with rage. This is exactly what we feared. One human has united the worst criminals in the galaxy. If he can do this with murderers and pirates, imagine what he could do with peaceful populations. Sir, perhaps we should consider that this might be a good thing, the intelligence officer said carefully. The human has brought peace to a world of violence. Peace built on human ideas, the Admiral snapped. Peace that depends on cooperation instead of proper authority. Do you not see the danger? If these ideas spread, they will destroy the order that has kept the galaxy stable for centuries. The Admiral made his decision. Prepare the fleet. We will destroy Tartarus and everyone on it before this infection can spread any further. All of them, sir? Even our own citizens who were sent there for minor crimes? Necessary casualties. The Admiral said coldly. The survival of galactic civilization is more important than a few thousand prisoners. On Tartarus, Jake was teaching a group of young aliens how to repair the water purification systems when Senna came running to find him. Her blue face was pale with fear. Jake, you need to see this, she said, pulling him toward the communication center they had built. The center was one of Jake's proudest achievements. They had combined technology from different species to create a system that could monitor space around Tartarus. It helped them track the dangerous storms that sometimes came from the sun, but today it was showing something much worse. Council. Warships, said Vorthok, who was operating the scanner. The arachnid's multiple eyes were focused on the screen with worry. 15 battleships heading directly for us. They will arrive in 6 hours. Jake studied the scanner readings. He had learned enough about galactic military technology to understand what he was seeing. Those are not transport ships or prison ships. Those are ships built for destroying planets. Kiran entered the communication center with several of her Vulcan soldiers. Jake, we are picking up Council military communications. They are planning to use orbital bombardment to wipe out everything on this planet. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Council was not interested in recapturing escaped prisoners. They wanted to eliminate the evidence of what Jake had accomplished. They are afraid, Senna said quietly. Afraid of what you have built here. Afraid of what it represents, Jake corrected. They know that if people see that cooperation works better than control, their whole system of government will collapse. Zixara spoke up from where she was monitoring the long-range communications. Jake, I am detecting messages going out from Tartarus to other worlds. Word about what we have built here has already started to spread. Jake felt a mix of pride and worry. He had hoped that their success would inspire others, but he had not expected it to happen so quickly. Who is sending the messages? Prisoners who had friends and family on other worlds, Kiran answered. They have been telling everyone about the changes here. Some of the stories are reaching planets where people are unhappy with council rule. Vorthok clicked his mandibles nervously. Jake, if the council is sending warships to destroy us, we cannot fight them. We have no weapons that can hurt battleships. Maybe we do not need to fight them, Jake said thoughtfully. Maybe we just need to make sure our message gets out before they can silence us. Jake called a meeting of all the group leaders on Tartarus. They gathered in the main assembly hall, a building they had constructed together using architectural techniques from 6 different species. Representatives from arachnids, Chithari, Velkans, Ethereals, Graxians, and a dozen other species sat around tables that Jake had designed to accommodate different body types. The council is coming to destroy us, Jake announced. But they are not just afraid of us. They are afraid of what we represent. They know that if other worlds see that different species can work together as equals, people will start asking why they need the council to control them. What can we do? Asked one of the Graxian leaders. We are criminals on a prison planet. No one will listen to us. That is where you are wrong, Jake said. People will listen to us because we are criminals. Everyone in the galaxy knows that. Tartarus is the worst place you can be sent. If criminals can learn to cooperate and build something beautiful, then anyone can. Senna stood up to speak. Jake is right. I have been receiving messages from my homeworld. People there are asking how prisoners on Tartarus can work together when free citizens on their own planet cannot stop fighting each other. The council knows this, Kiran added. That is why they want to destroy us quickly, before more people start asking questions. Jake looked around the room at all the different faces. 6 months ago, these beings had been enemies, fighting each other for scraps. Now they were partners, working together to solve problems and build a better life. We have something the council does not have, Jake said. We have proof that their way is not the only way, and we have friends. What friends? Vorthok asked. Jake smiled. Captain Zarath and the crew of the Constellation. They know what we have accomplished here. And Captain Zarath H is not the only person in the galaxy who believes that change can be good. Over the next few hours, Jake and his allies worked frantically to send out as much information as possible about what they had built on Tartarus. They transmitted detailed plans for their cooperative government, their trade systems, and their methods for resolving conflicts peacefully. More importantly, they sent out personal stories. Prisoners recorded messages explaining how they had changed from violent criminals into productive members of a community. They talked about learning to trust people from different species, about working together on projects that helped everyone, and about finding hope in a place that had once been hopeless. The messages reached planets across the galaxy. On worlds where different species lived under strict council rules that kept them separated, people began to wonder why they could not work together like the prisoners on Tartarus. On the industrial world of Kepler-7, Chithari workers who had never been allowed to speak to Vulcan supervisors started secretly meeting to discuss shared problems. On the agricultural world of New Harvest, different species began sharing farming techniques that the council had kept classified to prevent cooperation. Most importantly, the messages reached military officers throughout the galactic fleet. Many of these officers had family members who were not part of the dominant species on their worlds. They had seen how the council's policies of separation hurt people they cared about. When Admiral Korantaya's fleet arrived at Tartarus, they found something unexpected. The prisoners were not hiding or preparing to fight. Instead, they were standing together in the open, representatives from every species holding hands in a circle around their main settlement. Admiral, his communications officer reported, we are receiving a transmission from the planet. Jake's voice came over the fleet's communication system. "Admiral Korentai, this is Jake Morrison. I know you have come here to destroy us because you believe we are dangerous to your galactic order. You are right. We are dangerous. But we are dangerous to fear, not to people." "Silence the transmission," the Admiral ordered. "Sir, I cannot. They are broadcasting on frequencies that reach half the galaxy. Millions of people are listening." Jake continued speaking. "People of the galaxy, you are seeing what happens when different species choose to work together instead of being forced to stay apart. You are seeing that cooperation is stronger than control, and that diversity makes us all better." Admiral Korentai was about to order the attack when his tactical officer spoke up. "Sir, we have a problem. We are receiving reports from across the galaxy. Peaceful demonstrations are starting on over 200 worlds. People are demanding changes to the separation policies." "More concerning, sir," added the communications officer, "we are getting messages from ship captains in our own fleet. Some of them are refusing to participate in the bombardment of Tartarus." The Admiral looked at his command staff and saw doubt in their eyes. His own officers were being affected by what they had heard from the human. "Sir," his intelligence officer said quietly, "Captain Zarath has arrived with a fleet of ships from several different species. They are taking position between us and Tartarus." On the main screen, Admiral Korentai could see the constellation. Leading a group of ships that included vessels from Vulcan, Chithari, Rezanari, and ethereal fleets. It was the first time in centuries that different species had joined together for military action. "Captain," Zarath's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral, I cannot allow you to destroy what these people have built. What started on Tartarus has already spread across the galaxy.